Pioneers had an impressive week last week against South Atlantic Conference competition, and a 2-0 week is quite impressive. The Pioneers knock off the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears and the Newberry Wolves. Impressive about that, outside of not being named Lincoln Memorial, those might have been the two hottest teams in the South Atlantic Conference. Hello everyone, I'm Brian State, and we welcome you into Pioneer Basketball with Coach J T Burton, joined by the coach, and I think last week was probably a make it or break it week for this Pioneer. I don't want to put that much pressure on you, but you know, you're not playing as well. You lost 5 of 6, and you're going into a week where you're taking on an LR team that's probably the hottest. They had won 4 straight. They had built their resume up to over 500. Newberry was going to be following them, and they were doing the exact same things. And then we had, on top of that, we had to travel to Hickory, North Carolina, without our starting point guard. So we had a lot of question marks going into last week.
Yeah, we did, and going in, I knew that Keyston Brown, the young freshman, we prepared him, and he works all the time and prepared himself for that moment. And when we got there, I mean, we shot the ball well. We got a fast start, and I thought that helped. Well,
and another thing is when you want your freshman of the year to step up, he has done that this week. Trenton Gibson has been a catalyst, especially in the LR game where he finished with 21 points. I felt like you needed some type of a leadership role there because Tariq has been able to provide that without him being out there. If Keyston did kind of, not be able to handle the pressure from what we called the Shuford Psychos, the student body there at Lenoir-Rhyne, it would be bad. But this was a team that was shooting the basketball extremely well, and Darius Simmons has been the hottest player in the league. How are you able to contain what he had been able to do in scoring the basketball of late?
We put a big emphasis on to know where he was in our zone. I mean, because he was scoring the ball at a high rate. I think the game before us he had like 30, I think, and so we knew that he was one of the biggest reasons why they've been having that success. And so we did a really good job on the defensive end, and like you said, Trent Gibson kind of put us on his back as far as scoring the ball.
Another guy that's been doing that as well has been Brandon Mitchell, especially last week for this Pioneer team and in Hickory. It was a game of runs against Catawba, and it was a first half run that they put together that was able to distance themselves from us. Did the exact same thing against LR, and I think a lot of that was put a huge emphasis on going into the paint.
Yes, I mean that's where we put everything on is Brandon, and he's been really consistent this year as well. I mean, the kid has done a very good job of when you throw the ball down inside, is not turning the ball over because everybody's collapsing on him, and now he's getting enough confidence to where he can either make the pass or the biggest thing is score the ball.
What's funny about the Pioneers is that usually they go on the run, but then we don't collapse, but we allow teams to kind of get back into it. A 20-5 run in the first half built a 12-point lead, pretty much maintained that lead throughout the entire way of the second half, and then about the last 3 minutes happened. And it's a team that has been shooting the ball well. Mason Hawks went 0 for against Queens, started the game against the Pioneers somewhat 0 for 5. So he'd gone 0 for his last 18 from downtown, and then he hit one of the deepest threes of the contest and really built some confidence for them.
Yes, he did. I mean, we knew that when we were playing zone and they was hot, they've been a hot team, and plus playing at home, and we knew that it's all it takes is this one shot, especially for a kid like that. And boy, he made that one shot, but we did a really good job of keeping control of ourselves, staying with the game plan, and able to come away with the win.
And really, for the Pioneers, I get a chance to brag on this because I don't necessarily get to do this all the time. 16 straight free throws made, 9 in the final, 2.5 minutes or so. A team that goes to the free throw line made and knocked down free throws in the game.
Yes, because last year, I always think of the Anderson game when we was up and lost by missing free throws. This year we've done a lot better job. I mean, Dylan Smith is shooting right at 80, I think 87%. He's made so many in a row, and then Trent Gibson is making. And the biggest thing is Brandon Mitchell being able to make free throws because where he gets fouled a lot. So us coming down the stretch and making those free throws was huge.
Season high and high percentage shots as well. That would be playing above the rim. Brandon Mitchell had 4, Caleb had 1. So it was nice to see us finishing in the paint. And we go back to where we started. Keyston Brown playing in place of the starter, and Tariq, we thought that leadership is gone, that finishing ability is gone, but I think what I liked about what Keyston did, he really got everybody involved, and he had a heavy emphasis and a big reason why Brandon Mitchell was so successful early.
Yeah, there are 2 different point guards. I mean, Tariq is a score-first guy, and then our freshman is really good at distributing the ball, Keyston Brown. He's really, really good at that, and that's what he done. I mean, he does exactly what you tell him. He looks for the pass first, and he can make open shots, and that's really helped us.
All right, so the Pioneers knock off the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears and shoot the ball impressively. and also finish at the free throw line. Rebounding again has been very successful and very key for the Pioneers, who continue to lead the country in offensive rebounds. Didn't necessarily get all the second chance points that they needed, but they just continue to take possessions away from the Bears. Shoot for a high percentage, get the win. First sweep against Lenore-Ryan in over a decade as well. So impressive to see that happen as R.J. Gunn put together a nice finish for the Bears. But again, wasn't enough to knock off Tusculum. So then Tusculum gets a chance to come home and take on a Newberry team led by Angelo Sales Jr. this season. I didn't get a chance to see it. I watched it, I should say, but I didn't get a chance to be there to see it up close and in person. And again, an extremely physical contest from what it appeared to be, but also a game in which you guys moved the ball and finished the ball as well.
Yeah, we started off, we had another good start, and we was able to finish, obviously, and we took we did a very good job defensively, I thought. I mean, we did a good job of taking away some easy shots that they normally get and making them, it's our big thing, is trying to make them take tough twos and tough threes.
Let's take a look at the highlights. Tusculum versus Newberry. It was a tough physical game when they played down at Eliezer Arena the first time these two teams got together. And when these teams would get together this time, it was a good fast start. And again, we've been talking about Tusculum getting off to fast starts, and their shooting percentage in this game would be 45%. But for this Pioneer team, they would be led by their senior and Dylan Smith as you complete that season sweep. But then Trenton Gibson had to get involved, which he did. And 16 points for him, Brandon Mitchell finishing with 15. And Caleb Hodnett has been able to score the basketball here of late too. And all of those factors are very helpful in the success of your team.
Yeah, it's huge because now, we're starting to turn the corner. I know Dylan Smith hadn't been shooting the ball well consistently, and I think he's kind of getting it back. It's not from the three-point line, but that little pull-up jump shot, you see him hitting one in the corner, which is good. So, having those guys and us being able to share the ball and having guys to make shots, it's real refreshing.
Second game without Tariq Jenkins for the Pioneers, but you see Keaston, he's telling me, Brian, I'm a finisher as well as he goes to the rim and finishes.
Yeah, he's done a really good job, man. I mean, that kid right there has no fear. He does a good job of making open shots, and you see some of these freshmen. At one time, we had, right here, we have 4 freshmen on the court, and you see Daquavis Wilkins put the ball back for a finishing dunk.
And I think that was the thing that I even noticed, and they got everybody involved. And Brandon Mitchell stepping back and knocking down long range. And a lot of people say, oh my goodness, your big man's doing that. Of course, he's a great shooter.
Yes, I mean, he's been working on it. These guys have put in the hours in the gym on their own and do a really good job. You see Daquavis Wilkins making it a 3 right there. They all put in the shot, the hours to get better at the shooting, and it's paid off, especially these last 2 games.
He got off to the great start as well, but I think a lot of that was containing, for me, one of the more dynamic scorers for Newberry, maybe even in the league, and that was Luke Gibson. Gibson, when he gets it going, he reminds me a little bit of, and we'll see a little bit of that probably in the second half. But what he had nothing. Right here he is. Didn't even have a shot. Didn't even have a good look in the first half.
No, we did a really good job on him until the last minute of the game. I mean, anytime you take, that's what you want. You see that shot they made right there. You want him to take tough threes. But we did a really good job knowing where he was. And you see Keaston Brown knocking down a big 3 when they was trying to make the run. And but that kid right there got going at the end, and we couldn't stop him. Thank God the time ran out.
Yeah, exactly, because he was going for sure. So here he is in the second half, and he's just hitting them from everywhere.
Yes.
But that still was not an easy shot that he took. It just started going in.
Yeah, and that's what I tell guys all the time. As long as those shots are contested and we make them take tough shots like that, we'll live with the results.
All right, Pioneers back to the first half, down 14-9, went on the 15-0 run, very reminiscent of what they were able to do on the road in Hickory against the Lenore-Ryan Bears, and they just kind of maintained this double-digit lead throughout, and that's a big reason why, again, Brandon Mitchell, even getting post-paint touches, he's triple-teamed, he's still able to elevate and finish.
As I said earlier, that's one of the biggest things is Brandon being able to, early in the season, he would turn that ball over. Now he takes his time, sees what the defense is giving him, and then he's able to make a shot, as you've seen over the 3 defenders.
And then for Brandon, too, he's also the leader in the South Atlantic Conference in rim protection. And I think for Newberry, they're getting back into it, may have been down 9 dribble penetration. They had a chance to make a layup, and he's able to swat that away. That just changes momentum, and I think that's another dynamic of his game we don't talk enough about.
Yes, he's a great shot blocker. He does a really good job of protecting the rim, and that enables us to make some gambles or make some mistakes out on the top. And when we do that, having a guy like Brandon Mitchell at the bottom to protect the rim helps.
All right, now I'm not saying that Pioneers have necessarily turned the whole season around, but man, it feels good to get 2 wins against 2 of the best teams right now in our league. And we saw exactly why they are. They're teams that are able to make shots. They play really good defense, I think, and getting off to a great start has really been able to help. There's something we haven't talked about all season long.
Yeah, it was because you think about it. We had two teams that had lost 4 in a row, and they was going the other way historically, and we had to play them, and it was hard. It's hard to beat a veteran team, at a home court. But then you had come back and you play Lenore-Ryan, and you play these next two teams that we played, and they was both hot.
Yeah.
So we went on the road, we took care of business, and the biggest thing was making shots because we hadn't been doing that. And we went on a 3-game losing streak. I think we averaged 66 points a game. And I knew at some point, and we could still continue to get better, but we could score the ball. Because we put a lot of emphasis on defense, and now guys have shown that they can make shots.
A plus 10-point difference this week in the scoring of the basketball, 77 and 76 points for the Pioneers as they're able to down the Lenore Bears and the Newberry Wolves. Still a lot of the season left to go, and this week is another very important week for the Pioneers. We'll talk about that when we continue with more of our Pioneer Basketball Show with Pioneer coach J T Burton.
Family.
Food's here!
What's it mean to you?
We got lunch.
To us, it means the people you care about, look out for, and yeah, love. Even if you'd never let them hear you say it.
Hey, you're eating hummus?
What's wrong with hummus?
Here at Ingalls, we have everything you need to gather around the table and give each other a hard time. Because that's what families do. Ingalls. All the ingredients for family.
Pioneer Basketball with Coach J T Burton on Bryan State. And the Pioneers embark on a road trip this week and also return home to host Alumni Weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. But first, the Pioneers travel to UVA-Wise for the first time since 2003. It's a wonderful facility. It'll be my first time being inside that facility. I've seen it from the outside, so it looks great. And I know this is a Cavaliers team that, my goodness, their record is not indicative of how this team plays. They probably led every single game in under 5 minutes that have not been able to pull away victories. This is probably the most unlucky team in the South Atlantic Conference.
I know, man. They're really good. I mean, this team, that, like you said, their record does no justice how good that team is. And I try to tell our guys that I think they kind of found it out when we played them here because they got some really good players. It's just unfortunate they haven't been able to close games.
Pioneers overcome a deficit, closed the game on a 13-3 run. And I'll say it because I can, because I was there. Probably had no business of winning the game, but they did. And I think that was the game that kind of gave them some early season momentum that carried them through the first half, even into in the month of January as well. Big victory for the Pioneers against UVA-Wise, and it was really started by a big victory on the road against the Queens Royals. Nationally ranked opponent at that time, and also did a nice job closing out the game. Back and forth we went in the first half. They built a big lead, and then we just kind of continued to chip away against them.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it was one of those things. It was a historical win for us because we had never. We only beat them once before, and then beat them at their place was huge. And it's just one of those things that when you take over a good job like this, you try to, in order to make your mark in the league, you have to win those type games. And for us to go down there just before Christmas break to get that win was huge.
Pioneers played Queens without their All-American guard Daniel Carr, who is back, and he's been playing well, though they've stumbled a couple over the last couple of games. How are they different, though, from the first time when we played them?
Carr, he makes them go. He is the car. He drives them. He's really good. He gets people in the right positions. He can make shots. He can do it all.
How are the Pioneers different right now, though, going into this week?
Because we, not only defensively, we've maintained how we rebound, our defensive principles and everything, but we're scoring the ball, and we're a lot more patient in the half court, and we're a lot more effective in the half court, especially being able to throw the ball down inside of Brandon Mitchell.
Looking forward to the week. Pioneers travel to Wise, Virginia. We'll take on the Cavaliers and then host the Queens Royals for Alumni Weekend. Looking for a big weekend. A lot of the alumni are really responding, and we'll be back on campus this Saturday. If you haven't had the opportunity to do that, go online through TusculumPioneers.com. Let us know that you're going to be here in attendance. We'll have some gear for you when you show up on Saturday, feed you as well, and then recognize you during our contest on Saturday against Queens. Again, visit TusculumPioneers.com. Look, we're on the road, but UVA-Wise does a nice job with their television coverage on Wednesday night, so you can watch that, maybe even listen to us on the Pioneer Sports Network. You can find all that information on the Tusculum Pioneer schedule, and then at home, as always, you'll have the Pioneer Sports Network providing the pictures and the Sound this coming Saturday. For the Pioneer coach, J T Burton, and the Pioneers, who went 2-0 last week, let's hope for another one this week. I'm Brian Staten. Till next time, go Pioneers.